happens when abortion becomes illegal.
Why'd you shut up, Kitty?
Because I saw that we just went live.
And that's oh, you guys get a warning? I thought I was being sneaky all this time.
No,
we were talking reproductive rights. Okay. We can, hey, absolutely. I am not married to this Chick Tract. So if you guys want to, Kitty, if you want to go on a tangent about reproductive rights, by all means. This is it's 23 quick little cartoons. Well, hello everyone, welcome. Well, let's get to plugs right off the top before we talk about what we're going to do. Robbie, 23 quick little cartoons. What do you got going? Any upcoming events? Tell us about your channel.
Not much at the minute. Tuesdays, usually around an hour from now, I would be doing a show with Richard. We are going through Revelations, where if anyone knows Richard Madsen, he puts his beliefs across on Revelations, and I sort of break them down and we go through it. And it's a bit of crack. The two of us have a nice rapport, you know. We can shout at each other and get back and forth. And there's a few people who refer to it as tool time, like fucking Tim Allen. You know, we're two mates that just giving each other shit and going through it at the same time. It's funny. It's a bit of banter. Like.
You said Revelations, but I'll tell you a story. I was at it. I protest. I go to a lot of protests, and I counter protest a lot of protests. There was one, we did a press conference. It's a long story. We were doing a press conference. There was a church group out there protesting, and one of the signs said something about atheists are fools or something, right? And I walked up to him. Oh, he's in the middle of an argument with Aaron Raw. They were going, in fact, the security guard had to come and break them up at one point. They were in each other's faces so much. Aaron doesn't fuck around. So I just politely asked, do you know your sign here that you're carrying that's putting you in danger of going to hell? He said, what are you talking about? He said, you're calling atheists fools. And I just happen to know Matthew 5:22 says, if calling someone a fool puts you in danger of hellfire. And he just looked at me. He had nothing. And then he said, well, in the book of Revelations, I said, there is no book of Revelations in the Bible. I'll bet you $100 right now. He bet me $100. And then I said, it's the book of Revelation. It's the book of Revelation of St. John the Divine, but it's Revelation, not Revelation. So give me my 100. And he went, and of course. Kitty.
I occasionally make TikToks at Kitty the Atheist, and I am occasionally on Twitter. But you'll usually find me hopping around the community on different streams. I was just in talks with Godless Granny. We are definitely going to do a stream probably around the 18th, but that's tentative, about the abortion rights issue and the pending demise of Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about. Like, it matters, you know, as somebody who believes in personal autonomy and that reproductive rights are human rights. Other than that, you know, like I said, you'll just see me around, and I'll pop into live streams and chats from time to time. And I love coming on with Jim because we always have fun. We have fun here.
That last Sherlock scan was probably the best one. If you guys missed that part 5
it was
Sherlock,
so much fun.
Oh my God, that rocked.
I love those.
Yes. I've got 2 more people coming in. A super fan, Tilden Peacock, I think. Oh, speak of the devil. And then Aaron Raw is he's up to his eyeballs in some he's trying to get his degree, and so his classes right now are very, very difficult, and he's getting a lot of tutoring. His class for the day just ended. If he has to get tutoring, he's not going to show up, so don't expect him. But he does have the link, so we might get a visit from Aaron. Tilden, you're not a YouTuber, you're not a content creator, but you're a very prolific atheist activist in the community. You want to talk about that a little bit, and maybe that banner campaign in August that's coming up? Can you hear us, Tilden? I don't think he can hear us.
Okay, got a little bit of a.
Oh,
yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Got a little bit of a time lag here. Trying to figure out how to do. Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hold on, let me try something, okay? I'll be back.
Okay. All right. All right. So the links to everyone's content creations, any upcoming events, anything they have going on, it's all in the description section. Go check that out. In addition to that, okay, so I found a Chick Tract. We'll explain what a Chick Tract is if you don't know. We'll explain that in a minute. But I found a Chick Tract when I was pumping gas about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I thought they were. I didn't even know they were still a thing. I didn't know that they were still around. And so this was one I hadn't seen before, and the one we're going to do today. I didn't want to just take pictures of this thing, so I found it online, and the link to that is also in the description. It's a Christian site that reads the tracts. The link to it is in the description. He made me promise if I'm gonna take screenshots of his video to give him credit in the description. So I did, in fact, go there and check it out. You're gonna see. Now we're gonna laugh a lot at these cartoons today, these comic strips. There are a non-zero, a very substantial percentage of the population not only don't laugh at this, they think this is dead on. Read some of the comments over on that channel when the guy's reading through it. They're like, yes, this speaks exactly to me. This is exactly what we need in today's society. It is fucking horrifying. So go check that out. That link's in the description. All right, so a Chick Tract, I think they were, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, they were Jack Chick is the guy's name. I don't know who he is, if he led a church, but he I guess he hired artists to. This is 50s style cartoon comic strips. You'll see, and they haven't really revised it since. I mean, they still look 50s style, especially the customs and the culture. But
he didn't hire anybody. He did the comics himself.
Oh, he drew them himself. Okay.
Yes, well, he drew them himself, and now he's in not isolation. What do you call it? He's either retired or secluded. He's no longer on the scene anymore.
Oh, Jonathan, I might take you up on that in the live chat. There is a Dungeons and Dragons Chick Tract. Oh my God, yes, that would be awesome. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. D&D Chick Tract, and I gotta bring on the D&D guy, Jonathan. All right. So. And feel free to go off on tangents today, guys, because this one we're going to end up flying through it unless my upcoming events this coming Monday. I'm doing a open mic with The Bible Says What, and since it's an open mic, the live chat, you don't have to stick around the live chat. The link to join us will be in the description. I know that's risky. I don't care. I like to live dangerously. Sometimes it bites me in the ass.
You at least get the chance to, like, behind the scenes, because they'll be backstage. So, like, if it's someone you don't know or haven't interacted with, you don't have to let them in. Right. So, I mean, there's at least that little layer of safety.
But yeah, I've talked to him in the private chat. Hey, you legit? Okay. You're a theist, atheist? Okay. Just getting a little quick background. And then as soon as I let them on, they disappear under the table. One put up a SpongeBob and started going, "Hi, I'm SpongeBob." And every time we'd ask him a question, they would just use SpongeBob voice to answer. So there's some nutters.
All right, that's kind of funny. Like, I mean, it's better than porn bombing, at least.
Oh, right. If you guys don't remember Google Hangouts, back when we started going live, it was Google Hangouts. And for some reason, they gave every user in the chat the power to kick everyone else off if they wanted. So they would run 10 seconds of hardcore pornography, and then kick everyone off the show, and it would be dead air. So that was not cool. Let's start with the first one.
To each their own.
Right. Can you guys see that okay? Oh, wait. I want to go back to a different layout. I want to go back to a different layout.
That layout.
There. Okay.
Dr. Green Hornet.
So we can see what we're doing. I'll read the first one. We're all going to take turns reading them. We don't have to be like cognitive dissonance, or there's some other. I'm not even. Those guys are just hilarious. I've seen them read some Chick Tracts, and they use funny voices, and I just don't have that. So here we go. Near future. This is a news bulletin from the world headquarters in Rome. Stand by as Supreme Justice Mahoney S.J. addresses the world. Oh, I just noticed here, 1992. Wow, and these are still showing up on gas pumps and in supermarkets and whatnot. It is the decision of this court. Anyone who claims that Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father in heaven shall be committed to a mental camp for treatment and or be executed. All who oppose this new law are officially enemies of the state. What is that screaming out at you guys right off the top?
I've got the one world government taking over everything, and we're all against Christianity. We have to get that persecution going, you know?
Honestly, thou doth protest too much, methinks, considering, the current state of affairs in the United States and, all the decrying of, oh, persecution, oh, activist judges, blah, 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 But they're, it's just, it boggles my mind, how much they will just push this narrative when it's really, that's what they want to do. So like anything they say like they're worried about, it's actually what they want. And
like
yet they still
projection.
want that persecution, like that. Thank you, projection, that's the word. The projection is so strong with them, it is insane.
Yeah.
But you look at countries like Japan and Iceland, they don't have hardly any religion in them or anything, and this is a bunch of BS. They're not killing Christians or anything like that. It's just not needed.
It's not as bad over in the UK, is it, Robbie?
No, not really. Over here, they just do it. If they want to be religious, they can be religious. They take it as it is. We don't have fundamentalists or young Earth creationists really over here. Like a lot of old Earth creationists, but that would accept certain things. There's a few people I would interact with, but I wouldn't go so far as saying we have fundamentalists over here. Like,
must be nice.
I don't know. Like, I mean,
well, they
considering a
blow
lot
each
of the
other up
talk
over the
around like
stupidest stuff.
Brexit and like just the people that were coming out for Brexit and like how the UK has really turned into turf island. I think fundamentalism doesn't necessarily have to be religious fundamentalism.
Well, he
And
did ask me on the religion, so that's what I was answering on.
all right, that's fair.
Yeah, if there is religious fundamentalism over there, it's tied real deeply with the politics. It's almost inseparable. Here, it
becomes I'm in Northern Ireland, not really the UK, and over here, it doesn't matter. The religion isn't. Whenever I say religion and Catholic and Protestant, it's not a religious thing; it's a cultural thing. The churches are basically the Church of Ireland's a Protestant church, and the Catholic Church, and they're nearly the exact same. They go through the same rites, the same things, and all the rest of it. But you go out there and it's politics, and then you just blow each other up. This last 3 weeks, we've had bombs, we've had fucking petrol bombs thrown at the police. It's just been insane over here.
What? It's going on. It's still going on?
Oh, every now and again they come up with a new reason, Jim. It's the Easter Rising. So we have the Easter Rising, and then we had the Protestant parade going through Derry on Easter, and then it went down. And then that night they have the Easter Rising parade. So you have a load of drunk Protestants and a load of drunk Catholics and a load of people who are bitter. And yeah, it just ended up with police jeeps and petrol bombs and wonderful.
If you put that thing back up there, it's 180 degrees, right? Because who has actually executed people for not believing in Christ over the centuries?
Yeah.
Well, every Christian will tell you that all the disciples were killed for martyrdom. They will claim loads of people. This again reinforces we could be, objective about it and say it's been very few people and show me the evidence, but they've grown up knowing that Christian persecution is a thing. So this just reinforces what they're saying, what they're thinking.
Yeah, usually it's the Christians doing the persecuting.
Persecuting, yeah. Especially against the Jewish people that are supposedly Christ's own religion.
Oh, for fuck's sake, the only reason that evangelicals in the United States support Israel is because they essentially want to bring about the end times so that all the Jews can burn in hell and they get paradise, because that's literally what they believe. They want to bring about Armageddon, which is why, the Jews and control of Jerusalem. And it's actually really gross when you think about it, that they see through their faith the Jews as a means to an end, and as people that are not going to have salvation. Like they will, like, if you actually catch them off guard, they'll readily admit, and I've had these conversations with these evangelicals, that they don't support the Jewish people. they just support the Jewish state because that is one of the things that will help bring about Armageddon, because they want to meet their God. And I'm like, you know what? You could do that yourself a hell of a lot sooner without, throwing the entire Middle East into a destabilized chaos. You know.
I've had some people tell me that the role of Christianity in the Middle East is to convert Jews to Christianity.
That can't happen because it has to. Israel has to remain a Jewish state in the end times. I don't think that's their end goal. I think what Kitty said is exactly right. They don't give two squirts of piss about Israel. They only want to keep them around to satisfy their prophecies.
Well, I've had Christians tell me this. They need to convert all the Jewish people to Christianity because they need to stop dissing Jesus. They have to believe in Jesus.
Yeah, I've got so many things. I'm writing down some things, but I don't want to. I want to keep rolling because it'll probably come up eventually anyway. Okay, next
sorry,
frame.
I get words stuck sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool. Meth Pig. Read this one for us.
Okay, master. Crack that whip. Daddy, what
you feeling persecuted, buddy?
It's like the next line is, Daddy, what does that mean? I couldn't not bring in a whip. Like,
okay, but
Dad,
here's the thing. Instead of "Forgive me, Father, I have sinned," "Sorry, Daddy, I've been a bad girl."
Did you see my? Yeah, I posted that yesterday. Sorry, Daddy, I've been a bad girl. What you mean is, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
For the last time, it's "Forgive me, Father, I have sinned." Okay, Daddy.
I like the first one better.
Daddy. All right, Rob.
Dad, what does it mean, Connie, one way or another? We may be moving into our mansions in heaven soon. We have everything to gain and nothing to lose. For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain.
One more. We'll do two each. What do you think? And
it's a sad way to live, man.
Yep.
Waiting for this life to be over.
It literally reminds me of the story I read a while back about a girl. I think she was Polish, but I'm not sure. Her dad had died, and her mom had basically said, "Oh, you'll be together again in heaven someday." And so she hung herself to be with her dad.
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh. Dad.
And it's like that. I think that's the most tragic and kind of gross. Like, I mean, the whole concept of hell is gross, traumatizing children with infinite punishment for finite crimes to, it's the monster under the bed to scare them into submission. That's gross. But really, like, on a more meta level, like the fascination with death and the afterlife, Christians are so focused on the paradise that they believe they're promised that they don't actually live the life that they have. Like, whether you're a believer or not, one thing we can all agree, the only thing we're guaranteed is what we have right here and right now. You can believe there's an afterlife, but there's no proof. Like, you take that on faith. That's part of your faith. And that's great. But if you're so focused on something intangible that may or may not actually exist, that you forget to live the life that you're currently living, that's tragic to me. And it makes it a death cult, if we're being honest. And it's a little more, literal with Catholicism, considering I was raised Catholic. The whole, transubstantiation, body and blood of Christ, like it's very necromancer, like fucking, it's like I don't know, like that's the thing that like always made me uncomfortable with that. And it's funny, it wasn't that, and it wasn't hell that actually got me really questioning, just faith in general. It was actually the concept of heaven. Because I'm the kind of person that I would rather an ugly truth than a beautiful lie. And if I got to heaven and my child was not there, it could not be paradise for me. So in order for it to be paradise, I would either have to have a fake copy of my child and be in some matrix shit. I don't want that. I don't want a lie. I want the truth. Or I'd have no memory of my life. And then what was the point of living it? No, like that was actually the thing that interrupted in my brain and got me actually really questioning and then looking deeper into it. And that led to a whole separate, thing of like, discovering different faiths and things. But It was that. And yet I've had that conversation with, these really like devout evangelical fundamentalist believers where they're like, well, if my child is in hell, they obviously did something to deserve to be there. And I'm like, how the fuck can you say that with a straight face? This is your child. Like, I would gladly trade places with my child if they were suffering and it was within my power to do so. Like, and yet you would write them off and say, well, their eternal damnation is on them. I don't give a fuck. The fuck's wrong with you? Like, you don't love your child then. Like, I don't see how someone could claim to love a child and just forsake them like that. Same goes with the fact that LGBTQ, especially trans kids, are the highest number and rising of homeless youth because they are getting cast out by their parents. I'm sorry, you don't like all children deserve parents, but not all parents deserve children. And if you would forsake your child just because that they, even if you don't agree with it, like I don't, my son's gonna make choices that I disagree with. He's 8 years old. He makes choices I disagree with, and we'll have that conversation. But I'm not going to cast him out, regardless. Even if he became a serial killer, I would still love him unconditionally. I would turn him in because greater good and whatnot. Because I can't let him go around just like murking people left and right. But I'm not going to stop loving him. I'll do the right thing. But I'm still going to love him. I'm still going to visit him. Like, he will not stop being my child, And, like, that to me is, like, true love of a parent. And, there's so many parents that they don't actually love their kids. They're props or they're status symbols or, they're just something that they feel obligated to have because of either beliefs, societal pressure, religious pressure, what have you. A lot of people that become parents should not be parents, in my view. There's my spicy take.
The only part of that tract I like is the mansion part. Why can't we have a mansion on the earth right now?
Yeah, keep the rich.
Kitty, something you said just reminded me of, and I just pulled it up. It's an article in the Guardian. The title of it, the headline is, "Are white Christians under attack in America?" No, but the myth is winning. And then they did a lot of polling in this. And there's one poll, something you said made me think of this. Americans were asked what percentage of America is X group, and here's the respondents. They asked, these are just random polling in the United States. What percentage of the United States is Jewish? They said 30%. It's actually 1%. How many are Muslim? 27%. It's actually less than 1%. What percentage is transgender? They said 21%. It's actually less than 2%. And how many people earn more than $100 million a year? They said 20%. It's actually 2%. It's this persecution syndrome. They're all coming to get us, the Browning of America. There's people different than me and they're taking over.
But here's the thing. Yep. Like, on a long enough timeline, people that look like me will cease to exist because, I mean, like, we have like technology, we have become a more globalized community, and there are a lot more interracial couplings. And while my son is white passing, he is actually mixed race. And it doesn't, change the fact that eventually people that look like me will fade into obscurity, like the blonde hair, blue eyes, and fair complexion. Eventually, we're all gonna mellow out to like that, tannish olive complexion, and I don't really see an issue with that personally.
There'll be a lot of genetic diversity, but it won't be as large scale as it is now. We'll look more alike than now. That is correct. Yeah. Tilden, you want to read the next? Oh, I got to put it up there.
And then humans will come up with another reason to hate each other and other each other.
Yep.
Okay, I'll try. Let's see. Persecution, nuclear diseases. Okay, nuclear diseases, earthquakes, and wars all over. This could be the last generation. Really? That's why I'm so excited. Listen to this. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed to us. The world has nothing, but as Christians, we have everything. Well, is your name Pascal?
Yeah.
Honestly, like
One
how
more
many
Tilden. Oh,
generations
go ahead.
were the last one? Like how many times
Oh,
have they had
every.
end times prophecies that, oh, this is the last generation, the rapture is coming, like Armageddon is upon us, Jesus is, the end is nigh, Jesus, like how many times? Like honestly, like if I had $1 for every end times prophecy that didn't come true, I'd be sitting on a nice little stack of cash.
Yeah, this is why
Just
TV
Jehovah's.
series quit after a while. You know,
Yeah,
just
just the Jehovah's Witnesses, just the Watchtower organization. If just them, the amount of prophecies is mind-boggling.
yeah.
Robbie, are you fading in and out? Oh, I see. We can only see your avatar when you're close to the camera because you
Oh, it's just when I
disappear.
look
Oh,
directly
I
at
just
it.
noticed.
See,
I
it
just
works
noticed your
some.
background. My favorite. I guess it's a nod to my favorite movie. Awesome. Okay. Kitty,
Is
next
everybody looking at the
one.
top of my head when I'm rolling a smoke?
Can you read that, Kitty?
Yeah.
It might be too
And
small.
the darker it is in the world, Charles, the brighter our hope becomes. We're about to see Jesus face to face. I thank God I'm ready to meet him. Dad, shh. I hate them. Here comes the monster. Or here comes the monster. Like,
One more,
What's
Kitty.
they have a persecution fetish. The kids call me
Yes.
slime because my parents are straight and still married. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land. Exodus 20:12. Bobby won't live long. What were you talking about? Never mind, Bobby. What did you learn in school today? He's gonna love this.
Anybody else notice the sort of Nazi-esque uniform that the son was wearing?
Brown shirt.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's a
Yeah.
brown shirt. Oh, it gets worse,
And like the
guys.
one world government, or
That's like Hitler Youth almost.
yeah. But if you look at the patch on his arm, it says one world. It's that same New World Order, one world government tie-in.
One of the worst pejoratives a Christian thinks they can call you is worldly. Look, the two things you live according to the flesh and worldly. Those are the two things. If they want to really try to hurt you, which doesn't work, but if they want to try to hurt you, they'll call you worldly. You know what? I'm a citizen of the planet Earth. My loyalty is to anybody on. It doesn't have. It's not confined to these borders. It's anyone that wants a better world for everyone.
Where do the Christian missionaries go? Do they just stay in their own country, or do they go around the world?
Good point. Good point.
Actually, that reminds me of a story. I had a friend that I met in my time playing World of Warcraft, and she actually went with a group of people, and they were digging wells in Africa to try to provide clean drinking water to these communities, these really impoverished communities. And there were some Christian missionaries. I don't remember which denomination they were, but there were Christian missionaries there at the same time, handing out pamphlets, trying to teach them English, trying to like win souls for Christ, so to speak. And my friend actually called them out on this and said, if you really want to help them, why not put down the Bibles and come help us dig these wells? And they're like, oh, we're not concerned about their earthly bodies so long as their souls are won for Christ.
Oh,
Man, need a shovel for that kind of stuff.
You guys were talking
that's
earlier
right
about
there.
you were talking about the martyrs. The early. Some of them were amongst the disciples, but then there was some other apostles that had never met Jesus. But the Christians will tell you that it was just the entire Christian family. Every Christian back then was in fear for getting slaughtered by the Romans. No, the numbers were way smaller. Do the actual research. I don't have it in front of me here. I should do an episode on that. The numbers were not as big as you think. And when it did happen, oftentimes it was because they kept bringing it on themselves. Like they had a chance to make a concession and they wouldn't. Which hats off to them. They martyred themselves and they probably set out to do what they wanted to do. We know about the Gnostics. We know about the early churches. The early Christian sect that became the Catholics. They won. But there were other ones out there that were in competition at one time. And we know about the Gnostics and a few of the others, but there's one I learned called the Cainites, not the Canaanites. This was a Christian sect shortly after, within maybe a century of the death of Jesus. They called the Cainites, and their thing was they would beat themselves with sticks in the legs and in the face, and give themselves. They would screw themselves up. They would hurt their own selves and give themselves bruises. Then they'd go out into public and say that it was Christian persecution. That they did this to me. They mobbed me on the side of the road. It was their thing. They just beat the shit out of themselves and then go around and like flaunt this persecution syndrome on purpose.
Well,
Crazy.
you can see that their descendants are continuing much the same vein with these Chick Tracts.
Yep.
They come by it honestly, at least. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree and all that.
Math Pig, if you kindly read the next one or two.
My teacher said these were great for Halloween sacrifice. She's a witch. You idiot. You knew that. Son, you should love animals. Shut up, fool. They're only jerks who died and came back as dogs and cats. Reincarnation is a lie.
Okay, as somebody who was a practicing Wiccan for over a decade, I take great issue with this because this is besmirching the name of witches and Wiccans and pagans. Like, it's gross. Like, I guarantee a practicing Wiccan would have more respect for a cat or a dog than most Christians do. Hell, they'll have more respect for them than most Christians have for their own children. I said what I said.
The whole thing is designed. It's not supposed to be representative. It's pushing a narrative. It's supposed to be that way. They're going to take everything and push it right to the extreme. It's expected.
Let's count the straw men just in this frame of the comic. How many straw men can you guys count? I think I get 3, maybe 4. We sacrifice animals. That's one. Oh, maybe not straw. Well, yeah, straw men, or just being very hyperbolic, like a slippery slope fallacy. Like if you're an atheist, then you probably ain't gonna end up doing this. So sacrificing cute little puppies and kittens. What else? Oh, that were witches. And Wiccan and atheism. Wicca and atheism are two separate. They're both on the religious demographic. That's the closest. That's all we have in common is we're both part of the religious demographic of society. But
if you're not a Christian, you're the opposite. That's as simple as that. Either you're a Christian or you're evil devil worshiper. They all get lumped together because it's binary with them.
Right.
I would hazard a guess to say that they're never going to be into the furry phenomenon.
Yeah, the furry king.
Head. I usually don't use that word because I cannot stand Professor Umbridge in the Harry Potter series. So I actually don't use that word because she was so freaking vile that it does not, when I'm speaking, that word just does not pop up to be used. But you're right, it would have been a good time to use that word, but there you go, that's why.
Oh, the other one I saw in here, the other straw man was reincarnation, that we come back as dogs and cats. And so, do Christians do they not do any homework at all? Do they really think atheists have Hinduistic beliefs? That's a thing?
It's worse than that.
Yeah.
Well, because, there's a lot of sacrifice in the Bible. Even going back to Cain and Abel, Abel's sacrifice was preferred over his brothers, and there were sacrifices given to God. For fuck's sake, Abraham and the covenant he formed was because he was about to yeet his son into oblivion and sacrifice his child, let alone a dog or a cat, but sacrificing cows and sheep and, herbs and fucking God, it says in the Bible, God loves the smell of burning meat because you burn your sacrifices to God and that makes him happy. And so they take something that is part of the past of their religion and again, projection. There's so much projection.
If you think about it, during Easter they talk about Passover. What happened during Passover in the Bible? I mean, if the Bible is true,
The Hebrews were instructed to put lamb's blood over the doors of their houses that have infants, so the angel of the Lord would pass by them and only kill the Egyptian children, right? Something like that.
it's right, right. So Egyptian children were supposedly killed, sacrificed. Could say a sacrifice.
Oh
And
yeah,
I mean,
same.
no
Yeah.
sacrifice is good, but an animal sacrifice, I think, is lower on the totem pole of bad than, human sacrifice. Just saying,
Yep.
like an argument could be made that people who eat meat, and I am one of them, like food chain, like each step in the food chain is a bit of sacrifice. The plant sacrifices itself to the sheep or the cow or the pig, and then they sacrifice themselves to go into my belly. Um, but yeah, just saying, like animal sacrifice is below human sacrifice, at least to me.
Are you proud of me, Kitty? I'm biting my tongue. I'm not going to
I
get on
am
my
so
moral high
proud of
ground.
you.
I know,
I'm
right?
so proud.
Tilden, earlier you said something about you disagreed with Kitty and I about why the Christians love Israel so much. There was another thing to not only does Israel need to remain Jewish for their prophecy, but there's a child that has to be born. The Antichrist has to become the major political figure on earth, and then there's something about a red Angus calf. Like I've heard, I don't have any evidence of this, that
There's
like
also the mark of the beast that everyone
oh
will
yeah, the
have
mark.
to take the mark, and that it would be like a one world government kind of thing. Like
But
that's
there's
why,
some
like the whole New World Order, one world government.
It doesn't
yes, that
surprise me any. I mean, you can't get two or three Christians together and get the same goal. I don't suppose. I mean, I suppose some are waiting for the rapture. Then some want to convert the Jews, or it really convert everybody to Christianity. And you know, who knows what their goals are really? I mean,
but
is this for every Christian denomination that it's the world end, or is it, are there steps
well,
that got to be taken?
if they follow Revelation, then yeah, I mean it's something about the Antichrist as a child will slaughter a red Angus, a red cow. And so I guess they're genetically. I've heard stories that there are actual scientists, biologists that are trying to breed a red Angus cow so they can help usher this shit in. Oh, hey, Jason is in the live chat. All right. Let me read the next one. Where am I? Okay, here we go. You guys can see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Is anything else going on at school? Tomorrow, a healer is going to tell us about the mother goddess being spotted everywhere, and he's going to teach us how to find and turn in heretics. God help us. You just said the wrong thing, you intolerant jerk. Bobby, go. Do I have these in order? Yes, I do. They're all over the place, though. Bobby, go to bed right now. Larry's mom said that to him, and now she's in a concentration camp for child abuse. You want to join her? So the children of the corn. Oh, shit.
I'm noticing this number on the screen, 742. Is that what is that? Something to do with the tribes and stuff, or what? What do you think?
Where's 742?
Right there on that first panel.
Oh, on the football field or the concentration camp. That's a good question. What does that 742 mean?
Because that's where they're standing.
What? Yeah. It might not mean anything, but I watch a lot of Simon Dan and guys like him that debunk a lot of, like, mostly flat earthers, but they do debunk a lot of stupid creationist bullshit. And some of it is, you guys know what Pesher is, or gematria? There's another word for it. It escapes my mind right now. It's this, or Kabbalah. It's all this numerology bullshit. Like the numbers can words in the Bible have a numerical property
Value.
and that these numbers value, and that these numbers can it's finding symbols where none exist, and it's complete. Oh my God, it's so laughable. You can turn any word into any number and get any. It's just like a horoscope. Whatever you go in wanting to get out of it, you're going to get out of it, and then you're going to blow people's minds, or try to.
I think that 742 was on another one of those panels where they showed a building that looked like that. So I think it might mean something. I'm just not sure what.
Well, 7 is the magic number in the Bible, and 42 is the answer to everything. So
That's good.
Don't panic.
There you go. Yeah, 7 is
God's
also
coming. Don't panic. That's what that.
multiple.
Okay.
42.
All right, Robbie.
Bobby's teachers have ruined him. He's asleep. Dad, tell me again about the blessed hope. At any moment, Jesus will snatch up all believers into the air and take us to heaven. This is the blessed hope. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall be with the Lord. Thessalonians, blah, 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 blah.
Titus is cited here, and for those of you that aren't aware, Titus, Timothy, Hebrews, at least 6 of the 13 Pauline epistles in the Bible are even not just atheists, even actual believing Bible scholars, believers, Christians will agree. The modern overwhelming consensus is 6 of the 13 Pauline epistles, including Titus, is inauthentic, meaning it's a forgery, that Paul didn't write it. It was written way after him. It was written in his name. But that doesn't matter. They'll use it. They'll cite their source. Let's see.
So teachers are being thrown under the bus too. It seems like in this.
Yeah. Oh, those are the tops of the prison camps. So here's all the numbers across here. So I think it's just arbitrary.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it's a prison camp. I think it's where they live, because this is mommy and daddy having a conversation. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's been numerized. Nobody has any real individuality anymore. The whole idea of everybody's just a number. You don't matter anymore.
Oh, they're already in a one world setting, I suppose. Okay.
New World Order. Do you guys remember when microchips first came out? Oh no, I'm sorry. I think it was the card readers, the chips on the
RFID
credit cards started. Yes, the RFID on credit cards, and it was first being I guess it was in Sweden, and the first product line that came out with them, the serial number started with 666, and everyone just lost their damn minds.
I remember here in the States back in 2005 around when they passed the Real ID Act, where everybody had to get their new licenses that had the star on it, where you basically had to provide extra like proof of who you were. So like if you were married, you had to have your marriage certificate, you had your birth certificate, and you had to have mail from whatever address you were at. And I remember reading a bunch of like pants on fire, like hair on fire articles of people like, this is the beginning of the end times. It's the mark of the beast, that they're forcing us to change our IDs and everything. And I'm like, really, people? Really?
But you've said that 666 is not actually the correct number, correct? It's 616, right?
616. Yeah. That was in my second book. There's a passage in there. I can't remember exactly why it says that. I think it was a mistranslation of the Hebrew number 1 and 6, kind of look the same. But there's a lot of scholars that think it's 616. Doesn't really matter. It's this Pesher numerology Kabbalah horseshit. Numbers
It winds people up like fuck, though. It really does. I paid money for my license plate on my car and said my initials and 666 just to wind them up and start conversations like.
I have some of Satan's vitamins right here. You want to see them?
Yeah. What is it?
Okay. Hold on.
Oh, while we're doing that.
While he gets those, I actually vape at 66.6 watts. So,
Awesome.
And I'm always wearing my pentagram. Like, even though I'm an atheist and I don't believe in the woo anymore, I consider myself a non-theistic Wiccan or an atheist witch.
Let's see. Can you see that?
Folate. Oh, 666 micrograms of folate.
That's awesome.
That's got to mean something. You're taking
Okay,
There you
savory
go.
pills.
You see my hair
On
is
June
red.
6th, all right, I have a funny story. I used to have the receipt, but I lost it when I escaped my ex-husband. On June 6th of 2006, when someone was coming over to my apartment, I said, hey, do me a favor and swing by Wendy's and get me this, this, and this, because that's just what I wanted. And the total actually came out to $6.66 on June 6th of 2006. And I saved that receipt for years and then lost it.
But you didn't burst into flames. Oh.
What movie was that? I think
If
it
you
was
would
The
have went
Great
to Burton,
Outdoors.
you would have.
The Great Outdoors with, who was that fat guy that died of? I forget. I forget who was in it. But there was this park ranger, and he was sitting at the bar, and some guy came up to him and said, So I hear you've been struck by lightning. What was it, 6 times? And he said, how many times you been struck by lightning? Oh, you've been struck 6 times by lightning? No, 66 times. I forget what movie that was. I'm sorry.
My son is brilliant. Like, adore him. I had said June 6th, and he comes over and he just says, June 6th, 2022 is a Monday. And I checked it, and he's right. And pretty much I can ask him a date. And I asked him once a date that was like 5 or 6 years from now of, what day of, the week is, my birthday in 2027. And he got it right. And like, he almost always gets it right. And it just boggles my mind. And I just thought it was adorable that he heard me say June 6th. So he's like, all right, June 6th, 2022 is a Monday.
That's savant stuff. You should get your kid tested. That's savant stuff. Maybe there's an original concerto inside there somewhere too.
Just on that
Or an
top, they
opera.
actually they tested.
Like, his memory is insane. Like, I swear, I'm taking him to Vegas with me when he gets older.
Rain Man counting cards.
Hey, it's not illegal. They can kick you out, and then they can trespass you if you don't leave. But if you don't get caught, it's not actually illegal to count cards. Like, it's using your own innate advantages. And, as long as the house doesn't catch on, then you're good.
Yep.
Good for that.
The school actually
Robbie.
did test Elena's whole year there about a month or so ago. Now, I know an IQ test is a wee bit out of date and stuff like that there, but she came in with an IQ of 120, 20 IQ points higher than anyone else in her year. Like, so for the age of 5, she's doing all right. Like,
that's crazy. 120 is solid.
Hmm.
We're Robbie.
Back to me again. I haven't heard
Yep.
Tilton or Kitty since I've been reading.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
I just did the last one. Fuck it. Whoever
I'll
wants
do
to.
Okay.
Hey,
I'll
I
do it.
talk a lot, so if I don't read some of them, I don't mind. Like, I'm filling in the chat around it. So
That begins a 7-year period called the Great Tribulation. Those left behind will serve a satanic one-world dictator. God will hit the earth with unspeakable plagues, wiping out millions. But wickedness will increase until the Battle of Armageddon, when Christ will return and take control of the entire world. You two better stop this kind of talk and go to bed. Okay, that's Revelation 8. That's too small for me, sorry.
Yeah.
16:13 to 16 and 19:11 to 21.
Not Christians don't read their own book. If you got 100 random Christians together and asked them, could you name the order of events that are going to lead up to the end times and you going to heaven, you would get 100 different answers. They have no freaking concept. It doesn't help that
was a hard book to read, man. That was just flat out science fiction gonzo.
Honestly, it just seems like a bad acid trip to me. Like, you just
I'll have to take your word for it.
Glitched on a bunch of shrooms and just like went crazy somewhere. Like,
From reading it
Something.
right now, we're 8 chapters in, and I haven't seen anything trippy or anything like that there. Everybody says it's a big acid trip and all that there. It doesn't read like that. Has anybody here actually sat down and read it? Because like I'm doing it now, and it doesn't seem like an acid trip. Now I'm only
Well,
8 chapters
I
in,
read
but
it years
the-
ago.
The seven-headed dragon that's somehow wearing 10 crowns. I forget. It doesn't match, but it's a lot of symbolism in Revelation, and
Mhm.
everyone has a different. They know for a fact what this symbol means, and most modern with their scholars with their head on correctly, believer or non-believer, will tell you that anything that is prophetical in the book of Revelation, or at least the vast majority of what those prophecies, have already come to pass. They dealt with Nero and Rome at the time, so they're already done.
It
It's
was
not.
political
Yeah,
commentary. It was contemporary political commentary, like caged in allegory and in like hyperbole and fantasy. At least that was my take on it. But it is a little bit out there.
come by on a Tuesday next week and see me and Richard go through it. He is not your average Christian at all. Richard believes that God is an alien. He breaks it down into seeing spaceships and how he can see it as that, and
That's
not only
brother,
the
right?
description of how he sees it,
yeah.
but it breaks down into, we end up having fights. Like I think last week we got through one verse because it came down to, I couldn't get past the fact a greater power coming here and taking over a smaller power, a weaker power, because they think they're genetically superior. Just sounds to me like an awful lot of shit that's went wrong in this past already, and I couldn't get past the morality of that. So we ended up having a fight over how Jesus was going to build his army. Then I was screaming, "You know the mind of God," and it got very. It's not just revelations; it boils down into the morality and the actual breakdown of what he sees it and how that can come about, and is it right?
So is the alien? Is it like ET or is it like a Klingon?
It's us, only about 8 foot tall. But I would recommend talking to Richard, because in this context, I can only paraphrase, and it would be unfair to Richard because he has spent an awful lot of time going through this and thinking about it. He is very consistent and brings in everything and makes it, it's not like there's any compartmentalization. It's not like he would say, this thing happens, so I ignore this. He does tie it all together. So respect to him for that. But
So like more like Prometheus then? Like,
Mhm.
in the aliens films, whereas like they just
Yeah,
intervene to
that's how I
genetically.
picture it in my head. It's a supreme, or they can live for thousands of years.
I agree, Maya. But you know what? I wish Richard were kind of a jerk. It would make it a lot easier. But he's such a just damn decent human being. He's a great guy to talk to. He's fun. It would be
There
so
is
much
a few
easier
incidences. He
if
did
he
get
were
very
not
annoyed
such a
last
nice
week.
guy. He's got some
He got
out there ideas.
He did get annoyed with me last week. Now he got very, very wound up with me last week, and I seen a couple of weeks ago. He said something to Jill. We all know Jill, yeah. Jesus is Lord, yeah. You know who I'm talking about?
I
Yeah.
think
Well,
so.
he
I know
threatened.
of them.
He threatened him because it got that much, like, and that takes a lot to get Richard to get to that point, like. So it does
Yeah,
happen.
he's so
but
chill. Yeah, that is
very
Beck's
okay.
brother, though. You're right, Kitty.
Mhm.
Okay, who wants to read the next one or two?
It's with great pleasure I introduce a famous New Age healer that looks like some sort of fucking kinky thing that people do on the weekends. I don't know.
Honestly, it reminds me of the KKK. Like a combination
Oh,
of like the Rocketeer and like the KKK.
and don't forget the peace sign on his chest. So he's got to be the enemy.
We're looking
I
for
was going to say
sickos.
overused condom, but go ahead.
That too.
We're looking for sickos who hate our blessed mother goddess, the Queen of Heaven. These insane criminals believe Jesus Christ created the universe. What does any of that even mean? If I
God.
turn in a sicko, will I get a reward? Yes, a big reward. Just give your teacher the names and we will treat their illness.
This kind of comforts me, though. I mean, if they have to dig this low into the straw man box to pull out
Now,
something to attack
in
globalists
saying
or
that, Jim,
atheists,
in
huh?
saying that, you look at Twitter, and I am sick and tired of our side, the atheist side, whatever you want to say, saying that fucking Christianity is a mental illness. This particular thing and this particular, it does happen, and I've seen it happen recently on Twitter. People saying this sort of thing, which just is fucking stupid. Like,
It doesn't
See,
hurt our cause.
I
I
have
mean,
a
it doesn't
more
help our cause
nuanced
any.
I have a more nuanced take on that. I see nothing wrong with having faith. I see nothing wrong with praying, so long as your religion ends at the tip of your nose, because your freedom to swing your fist ends at my face, kind of thing, as long as it's not being forced on others. But if you are talking to your God and you honestly hear voices of your God talking back, then that could be a sign of mental illness and should be checked out. Like, it's not so much the praying and the believing that is the issue. It's if you hear voices, that's never a good sign. It doesn't mean you're
Audible
necessarily
voices.
mentally ill, but it is something that should be
yeah, if
checked out, I
anybody
believe.
hears, it's not necessarily religion. If anybody hears voices, it's a sign of mental illness. But people stating that Christianity is a mental illness for no reason whatsoever is fucking stupid and does happen.
I agree. I agree. I only believe, and like I said, my take is again more nuanced in that, if you pray, that's fine. If you believe, that's fine. But if you believe that some entity is talking back to you, like if you are hearing voices, that's an issue and should be addressed for your safety and well being and the safety and well being of those around you. Because it could be any number of mental illnesses that could be easily treatable, and which is why I think we should have access to universal health care, universal mental health care, and we would have a overall happier and healthier populace if that were the case. But that's a whole other socialist rant that I could go off on. But yeah, it's like if you talk to your God, that's fine. If your God talks back to you, then maybe pump the brakes and get that checked out.
If being dead wrong about something is could be a mental illness, we all could have I mean, I've been dead wrong about stuff in my life, and I've turned on a dime. I've gotten new information. I've done a complete 180 on certain things.
I wouldn't
Meditation.
consider it a mental illness. Religious people have been indoctrinated to this. This is what they have been told. This is what they've had to live. It's really not maybe a mental illness, more of a mental crutch more than anything. They have to have a God. They have to have a God that they talk to. That God has to talk back to them, or what's the point?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not talking about feeling like a spiritual presence, or like having like that trance-like state that people can be put in with, either chanting or music, meditation, prayer. Like you can enter a trance-like, state and feel like that sense of awe and like that warm, fuzzy feeling that those types of beliefs can bring. That's not the issue. I'm literally specifically only talking about if you hear voices talking to you that are not there. That is something to get looked at, But as
I'm on
a
the
whole,
same
I would
page as
never
you, but
say religion is mental illness.
yeah, you have to remember where it's coming from. They've been eating it, drinking it, sleeping it for their whole life, and
I mean, it's
just
sad.
it's
Like,
hard
if you wanna
to
see-
hard to balance the reality with the imaginary, because you got to remember they want to get somewhere after this life. So
It's funny that Jason Ellis would bring up Shannon Q right now, because that's who started this avalanche of negative criticism against me when I posted something that it basically says what Kitty's saying now, but I think I went a little farther than that. I went beyond just auditory hallucinations. I said, I didn't come out and say religion is a mental illness, but at one time I had that kind of mindset, and boy, I caught the backlash of the entire, well, a good portion of the atheist community that will just, they don't want you to clarify yourself. They just want to clutch their pearls and faint on a couch, and then out comes the torches and the pitchforks. And I used to care, but I don't care anymore. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll change my mind on it. But you're not going to intimidate me with your recreational outrage.
Like, I try not to paint with too broad a brush in any circumstance, and just declaring religion to be mental illness, that is an incredibly broad brush. And because there's tons of different religions, some of them have like no gods at all. It's more just, either a spiritual thing or it's about personal development and betterment. Like, not all religions are theistic. Not all religions have prayer or reward punishment systems. So again, you can't just paint with a broad brush and say all religions are mental illness, or even saying all Christianity is a mental illness, because again, there's so many different branching sects and subsects of Christianity that you have, 10 Christians in a room, even if they are of the same denomination, they're going to have 10 different interpretations. So, like, I try to be very specific and targeted when I'm doing, making comments like that, and say that, it's if you're having visual or auditory hallucinations, regardless of whether it is faith based or not, it is something that you should get checked out for, again, your well being and the well being of those around you. But again, it shouldn't be stigmatized. Like, just the best way to put it, if you have a mental illness, it is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. So you need to seek out help and do what you can to be as well as you can, because you have to think of it from like a societal standpoint. And untreated mental illness causes a lot of tragedy. And there's nothing wrong with having mental illness. Like, we should not stigmatize it, and should be incredibly supportive of those that are struggling with it. But again, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to take care of it.
Yeah, I agree with all that, except the only thing I would say is people in that state may not know that they have that state. It may just be, this is what I do every day. So
and again,
maybe somebody else needs to tell them. Yeah.
Why I say that, yeah, sorry. There's a little bit of a lag.
Yeah.
But that's another reason why I say we should have better access to healthcare and destigmatize mental health care, so people are seeing primary care physicians. They are attending or seeking out therapy, whether it's for just minor issues because they're really stressed, and that can cause a toll on your body. Even if you don't have mental illness, therapy can still be a benefit to you. It can teach you coping techniques with, things that you might have in your life. If you do have mental illness, therapy and possibly medications are much more important. But again, catching these things, like, if you look at so many of like the tragedies that we've had in the United States where a person has just gone off the rails and done something horrific, they had untreated mental illness. And the pro Second Amendment people will be like, oh yeah, see, banning guns won't fix it. It's a mental health care problem, but they don't want to do anything about the mental health care issue either. And so, I mean, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I just think that healthcare includes mental health care. We should destigmatize mental illness and treat everybody with common human fucking decency. And you should be able to get the help that you need, and it should not bankrupt you.
I don't know anybody that I don't know anybody
not old
that
enough to
doesn't
run for
have
president yet.
I don't know anybody that does not have any type of mental illness or at least mental disorder. I mean, everybody I know. I used to have obsessive compulsive disorder. I think I got the compulsion. It was pretty bad in high school. That's pretty much squashed. But if you guys seen my disc golf videos, it was World of Warcraft. Kitty was talking about that. At one time, it was that. Whatever I do, I laser focus on it to an unhealthy extent. So I'm obsessive, and of course the PTSD from the war. But everybody I know has got something.
For me, it is like at this point I actually need to go get checked for ADHD, because like I've been struggling with things my whole life, and like I was told that I might have it when I was a kid. My parents are like, no, not my child. We're not gonna, pursue that path, kind of thing. But I do have PTSD from an abusive relationship. So even if you're not in war, you could still be fucked up by trauma. And there's nothing wrong with that, but when it comes down to it, like, I will keep reiterating, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. And I think that if everybody thought of mental illness and neurodivergence and other issues that, can cause interpersonal issues between you and others, if they thought of it as something that, they're not to blame for it, but ultimately are responsible. And like, as a survivor of domestic violence, like, I will say that it kind of goes to that too, in that the abuse that I suffered wasn't my fault, but getting out was my responsibility. It was the hardest thing I ever did, but I had to take that step to go. And the cage that you build in your mind is going to be stronger than any cage your abuser can put you in. Because after a while, it really fucks with your head and you feel like you can't leave. But, taking
Yeah.
that first step, reaching out to people, getting help, like, you don't have to do it alone. And it's almost impossible to do alone. But you do have to find that strength, that spark to allow you to take that first step. And it's that same basic thing. It's not your fault, but you have to do something. Like, you have to take responsibility and, you know, try to I'm trying to find the words because it is a very delicate subject and, people might disagree with me on this, but, I understand why women go back to their abusers. I get it. Like, I've been there.
Yeah.
But
That's kind of a
again, like,
Stockholm syndrome thing, right?
well, it's not even that. Like, cuz honestly, like, there's actually like discussions that Stockholm syndrome might not actually even be a real thing. I was reading a thing a while back. It was really interesting. But uh I digress. Like, it's not even about a Stockholm thing. It's literally like your it's like your brain pathways change where you start to think about all the things that could go wrong. In my case, I needed healthcare and I needed my medications because of my chronic disease, my chronic illness, and chronic pain. And so, not being married, wouldn't have healthcare. That was something, one of the chains binding me. Not having income of my own as, somebody
Oh,
who
yeah.
can't physically work, that was a chain binding me. Feeling like, nobody would want to take care of me, nobody would want to be with me because I was damaged. That was a chain holding me down. The fact that maybe I deserved it. Maybe I was as bad as this person was telling me with all the gaslighting and the emotional and manipulative abuse. And so it really does become this twisted web in your head that it's hard to break free from. I honestly say that is the hardest thing that I ever did in my life. The only thing that, is on the same level is when my son was born, and he was a planned C-section, but he still had to spend time in the NICU for almost a month, and I didn't get to hold my son for the first week of his life. Like, they placed him on my chest for a moment after they cut him out of me, and that a few hours later he had to be rushed to a different hospital because they didn't have the facilities to keep him alive at the hospital I had him at. And I had to spend 4 days in the hospital recovering from major abdominal surgery while my son was in a different hospital over an hour away. That, is on the same level for me as, but I had no real control in that situation. Like, this, it's not like I could have just gotten up and walked to the hospital. Whereas, like, leaving my abusive ex-husband, like, it was incredibly difficult. And I don't I have all the love and sympathy in the world. Even, the people that, if it's so bad, leave. It's not that simple. And I, to my dying breath, will say, like, anybody who says, oh, well, if it's so bad, just leave, it's incredibly callous and completely disregards the fact that it is not an easy thing to do. There are so many layers there. And depending on how much abuse and manipulation has gone on, like, it could feel almost impossible for the person to leave. And, my
Yep.
heart breaks for anybody in that situation.
Yep. That might be what a lot of people that go to church deal with too.
Who would like to read? I saw Robbie, I saw his avatar yawning. I actually did. I'll read it. Grandpa, did Jesus create the universe? If I say yes, will your healers take me away? That's none of your business. Jesus Christ is God Almighty, the creator of the universe. He shed his blood for our sins. Asterisk, 2 asterisks, 3 asterisks. Bobby, if you receive Jesus, you'll go to heaven too. Let's see what they cite here. Okay, John. Yeah, John is we know that's the newest of the 4 Gospels, the canonical Gospels. It was written up to a century after Jesus's death. Yeah. And of course, Revelation. I hate you and your Jesus. You're an insane criminal. Oh, I hope the healers kill you. Hurry, Charles. Take Connie and her brother Paul to the cabin. You'll be safe there. I love you, Daddy. Okay. They're beating a dead horse now. I'll read one more. 12 hours later, how long before he cracks? Not long. We inserted microchips to increase the pain. Who is Jesus, the creator of the universe? And I love him. Take this heretic away, dispose of it, or there's a lot to unpack on this one. Dispose of it or use it for food.
Soylent Green
Wow.
is people.
Good.
Fucking Charlton Heston. Like that's just like what popped into my head at the end of that. And I mean,
This looks like
this,
the Inquisition. That's what I said.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is like 180 degrees.
Yeah, it's a reverse inquisition.
or the fucking witch hunts, the Salem witch
Yep.
hunts. They did this exact same thing to women, you know, and some men. Some men were killed in the witch hunts as well. And it's like they
Oh,
put
the
them in this-
Salem witch trials. There was 20 people total. I think five or seven of them were men, and 19 of them were hanged, not burned. And one old lady was crushed with rocks. No one was burned.
but like one of the women, she was a widow and she had land and somebody else wanted that land. So what better way to, you know, be able to acquire it than to accuse her of witchcraft and then let justice happen and you know, get what you want.
And we have come full circle on the microchip talk we had earlier. We were talking about it, and now not only microchips to increase the pain, that's a new one, but as people, I mean, of course, COVID and the whole 5G and the radio waves and microchips, and there are people there is a substantial percentage of our population living among us that is actual, like a literal fear of microchips or being recorded. And if they knew, your whole life is out there anyway. If you're on social media, I'm not saying
Not even that.
Yeah.
Your phone is recording you. The NSA is spying on you.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
they
No,
put
that's
a microchip in the fucking vaccines.
that's a myth,
You did confirm
Kitty.
that this was 1992, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's a myth, Kitty. I worked with the NSA for 9 years. We cannot collect electronic surveillance on a U.S. citizen without a criminal warrant. So, and I'll do a live public debate with Edward Snowden on it. And he and I had the exact same security clearance. So there's nothing he knows that I don't.
Y'all are bursting my bubble. I was hoping really hoping that some of my video would end up on Pornhub or something. Damn it! Thanks, Jim.
Robbie, what do you think of microchips or reverse inquisition or anything in this pain?
Well, there was a guy, I think, in the 80s that put or maybe the early 90s, that did put a microchip in his head. He was a teacher or something. He did it himself. I can't remember the exact details of it. So this has been around for a while. You know, timing of it may have been in the news or whatever, but he used it to control radio waves. No Wi-Fi back in the day, you know, and control things in his classroom. Like, so, you know.
Yeah, it was like the lights or something. It was like an RFID subdermal.
Oh, it was more than lights. He could definitely. It was. He had a set of glasses, I think, as well, that he could put on and give him different some other thing. But yeah, it's been going around for a while. There's companies out there that'll put a microchip in your hand now, so you can use the door, so you can access your lunch and things like that. You know, I have no issues with them. You know, I don't think they're embedded in our fucking vaccines. But
no, of course not. Like, we don't even have batteries that small to run them. Like, even the tags that they put in pets, you know, the RFID tags for, like, if your pet gets lost or something, like, they're actually pretty big.
Pretty big. Like bigger than a grain of rice.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you'll be able to feel it underneath their, you know, their skin. And so it's like, you would know, like, the needle used for a vaccine is tiny. I mean, they're like insulin needles. They're itty bitty. And there's no way, like, it's a whole different thing for implanting a microchip in somebody. And the technology is getting better. I mean, there is a guy that I believe he has the the same condition that Stephen Hawking had, and he's actually got his brain connected to a computer, so he can actually essentially control a computer with his thoughts alone, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And
I had a
the whole
question that was
transhumanism
exactly
thing.
yes, transhumanism and what you were talking about. I want to. It's so funny you would bring that up. That's an excellent segue. I had a question for you guys, but before I get to that, Jason Ellis in the chat. I just have to answer. Finally, we're in my wheelhouse. This is probably the only thing on earth. Well, this and unarmed combat, maybe a little bit of Bible and chess and disc golf, but metadata collection is my game, baby. So I can't answer this one. Yes, the way that electronic surveillance is collected, it's just hoovered up. And do we collect U.S. citizens metadata? Yes, we do. But there is no possible way to collect foreign enemy information without scooping up everyone's metadata and then parsing through it. It's weeding. It's like swimming through a swimming pool full of oatmeal just to find one little gold nugget. That's what they say. What is metadata? It's your MSISDN, which is basically your telephone number, your TIMSIs and your IMSIs, which are IMSIs are like, it's a serial number that's on the actual computer, your actual cell phone. There's another it's been a while. There's an actual number on your SIM card that's different, but these are just so with the metadata, all you can really get is your telephone number, your subscriber information, which service provider you use. If we wanted to, and with a warrant only, I saw what happens to somebody that tries to collect on a U.S. person without a warrant. It happened once. Happened down in Guantanamo Bay. One of my friends thought his wife was cheating on him, and he targeted her directly. She was cheating on him, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was 1993, and I think he's still in Fort Leavenworth prison. That's how seriously they take that shit.
Right, but
Wow.
there was other reporting that there were other people doing that, where they were essentially collecting the data. I forget, there was a term for it. It was like love something or whatever, where they were actually targeting either their significant others or people that they were maybe dating, and they were actually scooping up their data for the people that they were interested in.
Humans. We're humans. Some people go rogue. And like I said, 21 years in the Marine Corps, and the Department of Defense and the NSA and the entire United States intelligence collection community, I've only saw it happen once, or I've only heard of it once. There was another woman. She wasn't NSA. I think she was CIA. And she became a double agent down in Cuba. And she got caught. And the reason I know about her is because when I was in advanced cryptanalysis school, she came and gave a talk. She came in an orange jumpsuit and leg shackles and handcuffs. They let her in and she talked for an hour and she left. But yeah, she's down in Gitmo. So they take this shit really seriously. Anyway, the question I want to ask you guys, two questions. Yeah.
Can you put that back up for a minute? I want to ask you a question about the panel you just had.
About metadata?
No.
Or the photo?
The photo.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead with your
right.
questions first. I'll hold mine.
The first question is, how many of you four would be okay with, not mandatory, but if you wanted to, an RFID under the skin, so you didn't need a credit card, you could just wave it over a machine when you pay for shit?
Oh, absolutely. I would be down for that. I would go even further. It's not going to happen in my lifetime, but if we got to a transhumanist point where, you know, your consciousness could be transferred into, say, a cyborg body, a la the Major from Ghost in the Shell, I would hands down fucking do it. My body is in pain every minute of every day. And if I could yeet myself out of my body and exist, you know, fully functioning, you know, in a body that doesn't cause me pain, I would absolutely do it.
Well, you're talking
Jason
about buying stuff or having a credit card on you where you can buy stuff. I'm kind of old school still. I still use checks. So, I mean, if they could embed a checkbook in my body, that would work pretty good, probably like on my right arm. So
We
just
may
Jason, I can answer
start
every one
whenever.
of these questions in the live chat. I can answer all these. I've been to Sugar Grove as well. Yeah, I can answer all that's a separate. It looks like it's a separate episode, but that might be fun to do. Bring you on and maybe some SIGINT guys and maybe some human guys, and just try to talk. We would have to talk around the sensitive shit, of course. Anything that reveals methods and different things that might be still classified. But yeah, that would be a good show. The other question I had, oh, Robbie, what do you think? RFID under the skin?
Yeah, I have no issues with like if it makes life easier and things like that. I have no aversion to technology. At the end of the day, it's just an extension of where we're going. So you don't have to forget your phone or whatever. You've got a holographic second projector pops up in your hand, thinking you make a reference to the new Total Recall. That sort of mobile phones is what
Yeah.
they have. If you want to put your hand on the screen, you can see a thing. I've no aversion to the advancement of technology as long as it is used to improve our life. Like my goal is to build a house that I can be as self-sufficient as possible. Solar panels, bio toilet, all of that sort of bollocks. The technology's there. It's just using it correctly. If these things are then being, as Ralph has pointed out, and as yourself has been working with the NSA, if this can then be used to track your position all the time, that's obviously wrong. We don't want to go into a nanny state. There has to be laws and rules and things put into limits to stop that. But I have no general problem with technology under my skin that may improve my life. If I have a heart attack while I'm in the bath and there's an alert that goes off and somebody's phone goes ding, 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 why would I not want that? There's advantages of having it, but it does have to be controlled, so to speak. You have to limit what people can access through that.
Yeah, make it so
What?
that, like your ID, like your driver's license or something is connected to it, your credit cards, bank accounts, what have you, either have a tablet that you can then interface with it if we don't have the technology to just interface with it like you said, in like a holographic type thing.
But you could
And
still use a
so
fingerprint scanner, unless it's been just because it's under your skin. If you put your finger against a machine, that's your fingerprint as access to your data. Your fingerprint is specific to you. So if the data specifically is stored only on that, if it's on the cloud, then it's accessible to everybody. It's a long drawn out conversation, but
but
there just
you
has to
brought
be
up
limits.
a good point about if you have a heart attack or something, like having a built-in mechanism, like life alert plus, basically I've fallen and I can't get up. Well, if there is a fall, or if you start going into diabetic shock, if you're a diabetic, or you're having an asthma attack and can't breathe, like being able to alert the authorities immediately to get you help, that could save lives,
We have
and
a
I'm
system
all for
in
that.
we have a system in my granny's house. We have an alert in the bathroom, one beside the bed, one in the living room, and one round her fucking neck. There's no way if anything goes wrong, and my mother has been alerted by the company. You hit the button, it alerts the company. The company then rings my mother, who is down as her, looking after her and all the rest of it. She then gets an alert and drives up the road. Now it's not that it's a wee bit up the road, 15, 20 minutes, but it's the closest person. It's how they can get there. If mum's busy, they'll phone an ambulance. If whatever, it gets an alert and it gets it out. But it's limited to the bathroom, the bedroom, and the living room, And if she forgot to put it around her neck and she trips on the mat, she's stuck in the hall and has to crawl into her room before she can set an alert. So it is limited to a point. Having it under your skin that automatically detects your heart or automatically can detect trauma to some part of your body would definitely be good.
Let me ask this: pacemakers. I didn't when my dad got one. I did not know how the level of technology, how far it's gotten. Pacemaker technology. His is Wi-Fi enabled. It will sense if he needs a defib, and it's got a built-in defib. It'll give him a little zap to get his heart started again. It'll automatically alert through Wi-Fi his primary care and to notify EMS. He doesn't even have to push a button. What would you guys, in line with that? How would you guys feel about maybe, say, hypothetically, like a microchip or a small implant in the brain that would allow you access? You could just, through your thoughts, you don't even have to type anything, just do Google searches and access web pages and get on the internet.
Well, it depends. Are you seeing it
Basically have
inside
like
your head
a
or are
heads
you?
up display in your ie.
Like,
That's what I'm wondering.
heads
Is
up
it in
to
your
play.
eye? Is it on the screen? Are you controlling it? Do you have to close your eyes?
Well, it might be like a heads up display, like Kitty was saying, or it could just be like internal abstract thought. but it would be really vivid. You'd be able to see you could scroll down, scroll up, read stuff.
Do you still have to buy a subscription to use it?
Guys, I'm just talking hypothetical.
Capitalism isn't dead yet, so probably.
Well, someone in the live chat said
Spectrum.
no, I forget. Someone had a problem with it, saying I trust the technology. I just don't trust the people who have control over that technology. Like if you did have said implant in your brain, cars can get hacked and they can drive you off the road. That was an episode of Sherlock I watched, and that's an actual thing. So maybe someone down the way, like if it wasn't a good, strong security system, strong encryption, like someone could hack your brain, but they couldn't necessarily control you, but they could throw images you don't want to see in your brain and like roll around on the internet inside your brain. They couldn't control you though.
They can traumatize you.
There's so many different rabbit holes being
as far as you know.
It's an entire conversation on its own.
Yeah,
I agree with it. I'm in line with what Ralph says. It's okay to have that level of biointegration, but there must be individual control.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. We're on 18. There's 23 total, so we're rocking and rolling. Who wants to read
Can you
this?
go back to the last one? I wanted to ask a question.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So this is again supposed to be Christian persecution, but on this it says not long we inserted a microchip to increase the pain. This as soon as I read this, it reminded me of what supposedly happened with Moses and the Pharaoh when it says that God has hardened the Pharaoh's heart. So it didn't really matter what the Pharaoh was going to do,
All right.
And it really doesn't matter what this guy is going to do. He can say anything he wants to. Is they've already,
Yeah, it removed his free will. If you try to make him crack under pressure, under duress, you'll say anything. So it's just, that is a good analogy.
Torture doesn't
it's
work.
Removing it. Yeah, no, it doesn't. Let's see. Who wants to read the next one?
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Oh, by all means.
Go ahead. Ladies first.
Well, all right then. We made it, Paul. If I'm caught, I'll be tortured. I'm going to turn them in. Connie, I'm going after supplies. Be careful, Paul. Don't worry, sis. I'll be back by morning.
Go one more.
I want to report 2 sickos. Tell us all about it, friend. Do I get a reward? Of course. 1 hour later. Charles, they found us. Help us, Lord Jesus.
Free drugs. Look at the podium. Look at the sign. Free drugs. Can they be more hyperbolic? Gee, is this what they really think the New World Order is? I mean, I understand why they're so scared now, because a lot of this might be, it's totalitarian rule. The free drugs doesn't sound bad, but they are making themselves way more scared. Can you imagine a one world government?
I mean,
it's not a dirty word. Imagine an Earth democratically ruled by a single world government, democratically ruled, like say the UN or some body like that.
Because it would stop a lot of the, international conflicts that happen. I mean, there might still be conflicts, but it could theoretically be resolved more peacefully in a more globalist thing. But what they're doing here is they're combining, Brave New World and people being hooked on Soma and 1984 and the, turning in your people and thought crimes and stuff. Animal Farm and, that they looked from the pigs to the humans and back again and couldn't tell which was which. They literally, it's just a fucking potpourri, a hodgepodge, if you will, of the fucking dystopian fiction that they're just shoving all together. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they start bringing up eugenics next, because again, the free drugs and Soma and wanting to escape your thoughts, and wanting to escape your reality, and just I guarantee there's at least some that have brought in the eugenics aspect too, with the alphas, the betas, the gammas, the epsilon semi-morons, and so on. And it's just it's so crazy to me that they would take from all these different dystopias and then add a healthy dose of their persecution complex and projection and toss this out into the world.
There's two words
Is it that is it the Christians that are is it that the Christians are feeling persecuted, or is it that they are feeling paranoid, or are they the same?
I think it's a little of both. It's like they fucking have this persecution kink, but then they're also paranoid because they know that they want to do these kinds of things. They want to set up a theocracy where what they want is how it is. And, they want these things to happen, but they want to be the ones in power persecuting others. So
Right.
a little persecution kink, a little projection, a lot fucked up.
When a Christian accuses me or a non-believer or someone on the left of being a globalist, this globalist conspiracy, anything global, that's not a dirty word.
No.
You're right, buddy. I think globalism might be I think that's the way. Can you imagine it? I mean, like Kitty said, it would decrease wars just for starters. We could all work together towards the space program.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, having a one world order. What's the highest goal for humans? To
get off this rock.
Get off Earth, yeah.
Yeah, to get off this rock, and because if we put our eggs in more than one basket, there'd be lesser chance of us, extinction level event.
Exterminated. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing. Yep. A lot of these conservative Christians, they either reject that climate change is a thing, or they don't care because, the end times will happen before the planet implodes. So, why should I care?
Right.
They don't see it as like, this is something, it's our planet we need to protect so that, our species can continue on. And
yep.
I don't know, man. Yep. Like,
so supposedly after the 1,000-year rule of Satan on the earth, isn't everybody supposed to come back to the earth? But if there's no earth to come back to, I mean,
no. After the rapture, they don't come back. That's it.
Oh, okay.
They stay in heaven.
That's another fucked up thing. Like, I have a friend who they've spoken about it publicly, but I'm not going to name them. Where they, when they used to be a believer, they're an atheist now. They used to be a believer, and there were times that they would come home to an empty house and have that knee-jerk reaction, like, "Oh no, did the rapture happen? Like, is my family gone? Was I left behind?" I can't imagine living in that. That sounds hellish.
Really? That's amazing.
I think I said this in an earlier live show. So it wasn't my idea, but I think I wanted to run with it. If I could find some really cheap blow up sex dolls, some cheap ones, like just the, latex, the one where they look really surprised. Ooh,
let me know if you find any, okay?
There you go, Kitty. And then get about 50 of them in a helium tank and blow them up. And then like from behind a wall, like somewhere in broad daylight in a busy area, but like release them from behind a wall so they can't see somebody's actually releasing them, and just release them up into the air and see what the hell would. Someone told me it was a joke or something where, a woman, like it actually did happen. It was just one blow up doll. And it got released. It was out of the back of a van. There was some in there, and then one got released, and it started rising to the sky. And a woman jumped out of the minivan from the passenger seat of the minivan at like 50 miles an hour. Oh, she removed her clothing first and jumped out of the minivan, thinking that she was going to get left behind. I think that was an actual news story.
I can think of at least one good place in downtown Dallas to do that at.
Oh, Jefferson's mega church. That would be funny shit, boy. Oh my God. Okay, let's get through this. We got a few more. Robbie, please indulge us. I feel like you're being too quiet. Here we go. Read these last three.
Crash. Shoot to kill. That's a very Batman-esque thing. All they could have made a bit more effort. Shoot to kill. At that instant, the rapture hits. Their clothes are on the floor, but where are they? We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised. Incorporeal, and we shall be changed. incorruptible, and we shall be changed.
Oh, and then the last few chapters, this is just them trying to get inside your head. I think the story's over, and now they're just going to preach to us for the next couple frames.
Yeah, you're a sinner. There's only one way to get your sins forgiven. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And we all heard this before, and we all know it off by heart. Jesus shed his precious blood to pay the terrible price for our sins. He died, was buried, and rose from the dead.
Human sacrifice. Always got to have one.
White Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. No man may cometh unto the Father in heaven, but by me. Whosoever shall come upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Little Bobby died in his sins, poor Bobby, because he never prayed a prayer like this. Dear Jesus, oh, fuck me. I don't give a shit. I'm a sinner. Please go fuck yourself. I trust in you as an absolutely imaginary person.
I'm sure he never did a prayer like that.
It's the last four. Okay, 23. This was 23 pages long, and the last 4 pages are then just trying to get inside our heads.
Yep.
It's stuff they think we've never heard before, too. That's the funny part. Like I found this at a gas station.
It just boggles my mind. I actually did a video several weeks ago on my TikTok where I was talking about the fact that twice, like it happens to me more often than you'd think, but twice in the span of like a month and a half or so, or no, sorry, it was in 2 weeks. Twice in 2 weeks, I got stopped by well-meaning Christians who they see a young person, you know, walking with a cane, and they come up and they want to proselytize to me that Jesus can heal me if only I pray. And one was a woman who stopped me at the fabric cutting counter at Walmart, and the other was a man that he was in front of me at the grocery store, and he asked, "Do you mind if I ask what's wrong?" And I just gave the canned response of, "I have a nerve condition," and left it at that because I'm not going to tell my whole story to some rando. And he's like, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" I was like, "You can if you want, but I'm an atheist, so I don't think it's going to do anything." He's like, "No, that's fine. If, you know, you don't want it, then I'm not going to push." And I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate that." I spoke too soon because the fucker followed me to my car in the parking lot. And then had like this long conversation with me. And, you know, I kind of gobsmacked him a couple of times where I basically was like, you know, how could Adam and Eve know that what they did was wrong if they hadn't eaten the fruit that gave knowledge of good and evil? And I went on this whole tirade of how God basically just wanted mentally deficient people to love and worship him. He didn't want them to know. He didn't want them to be smart. He's like, "Well, Adam was smart. He named the animals." And I said, "Yeah, so can an autistic 2-year-old. That doesn't mean they can enter into a legally binding contract or understand consequences." And he kind of gaped like a fish for a little bit. Like I laughed like internally because I wasn't going to be rude. I'm not going to be that atheist, you know. But I'll have these conversations with these people, but they don't enjoy it. Like they basically get to a point where like they'll talk in circles, and then they just kind of short circuit. They're like, "Well, anyways, have a nice day," and they just kind of like tail between their legs, scamper off.
Kitty,
The guy at
if
work
you
actually kicked me down the back whenever we were all wearing masks at work, and I work with a CNC machine, so there's a lot of fluid moving the mask up and down. Because whenever I wear glasses, if I'm right up close to where I'm trying to measure, where 0.3 decimal places of a mil, you're trying to measure it right, I'd pull the mask down so my glasses don't get steamy, put it back up again, down, up, down, up. The masks get wet, and I was having trouble breathing, so I asked him to take over, and he took me down the back, just round the corner from the actual machine. And I thought he was like, "Yeah, no bother," and all the rest of it. No. He put his hands on my chest and started to faith heal me. And it was like, I just need a minute with a dry mask, man. That's it. I don't need your fucking faith healing.
No, it really pisses me off. It does, because like speaking as a disabled person, you know, like you don't know like that person's story, like, and they target people with disabilities. Now, whether they're consciously doing it or not doesn't matter. The fact is, like, that person could be at a low point in their life where they feel they don't measure up to their family standards, they're a burden, that they don't measure to society standards, you know, because our society is incredibly fucking ableist. And, you know, honestly, like, they could be, like, you're preying on vulnerable people, and it's gross.
Yep.
Someone asked if, oh, here it is, if we had talked about, now they're saying five justices already overturned Roe v. No, there's been no there's been
No.
no decision made. Okay.
Okay, so I can talk on this. So basically, for the first time I think ever, or at least in modern history, somebody leaked essentially the decision. They're
It was
having
a
the
draft
conversation. The draft, yeah. They leaked
opinion.
it early. The
Yes.
opinion, it will not go into effect for at least 2 months, and it could change between now and then. But and there's actually speculation that, some are saying, oh, someone on the left leaked it, one of the clerks for one of the left justices. But then there was a thread I saw on Twitter that actually made a lot of sense, that it would make more sense that it was someone on the right, because they've pulled this kind of tactic before, where now they can blow up the outrage, about it being leaked, as opposed to the outrage of what's actually in it. Like they did a similar thing with the Mueller report. And that, everyone's going to be pointing the fingers at the left, and that it would actually be politically savvy, like like they have more to gain from leaking it early than they do to lose.
Yeah. Earlier you said they target handicapped people. I did not know that. That's disturbing as hell. But well, first off, I want to say 3 out of the 4 of us are content creators, and if you guys want to take my advice, it works every time. If it doesn't work, it works even better, and when it works, it works. Before they start talking and say, "Oh, I do a YouTube show about religion," I will have this conversation with you. Would you mind if I get my tripod out of the trunk and we set it up right here in the parking lot? Can I record this for my show? 90% of the time, they get cold feet and they walk away, and you win. But 10% of the time, you really win, because they will have the conversation with you. I had 2 were they JWs? They had raspberry tea, so they couldn't have been Mormon. I made them raspberry tea. We sat right here, and I did 3 hours with them. They were Jehovah's Witnesses, and we talked for 3 hours. I gave them raspberry tea, and we had a nice conversation. And their jaws were on the ground by the time we were done. They said they had to go back and talk to their elder or their supervisor or whatever. They've got a lot of questions. I planted a seed. I fucking planted a seed. And who knows where they are now, if they're even still in the church. I'd like to think that they're not, but so that's one thing. And when they say, when he says Jesus can heal you, you don't need that cane. He said, I would like to know, like, if I were there, I would, why doesn't God heal amputees? You know that line, but it kind of makes sense. Can I ask you something? How many times in your experience have you seen somebody with a physical outward handicap, like i.e. in a wheelchair, walking with a cane, or an amputee even, where they've been completely healed? How many times have you personally experienced it? Be honest. Tell me, do you hear the words coming out of your mouth where you say, Jesus can heal me of this, and I don't have to walk with a cane anymore? Are you being genuine intellectually honest with yourself? I don't know.
I mean, self-delusion is a powerful thing. The guy that followed me to my car, he is like, I had, I think it was knee pain or back pain or something. He was like, and it was unbearable. And then, I found Jesus and everything feels better now. I don't have the pain anymore. And I'm like, okay, so what you had either healed with time, or self-delusion is a powerful thing. And, I did say that. I said it nicely, but I did say it because it's true. I mean, there is an element of mind over matter in some instances, but not in all. But you can very much delude yourself, and a placebo effect is also a very potent thing.
I have seen a church that was directly opposite me where I used to work a couple of years ago. And they got the church due to, I wouldn't say a technicality or this, but there's not supposed to be any churches where there is. And they got it in this fucking thing because it's whatever it is. It's not an official church. It's one of these. It's what we would have, I said, doesn't exist over here. This is a small incident of it was existing, this small proportion, where they were setting up an area in the back of the building to teach kids after school about creationism. They were putting on, I don't know if anyone has seen the Banana Man video, Exit, the abusive suicide. Right. They're putting that on as movie night. Okay. That's what they're having in their church and shit like that. And it got to the point where there was a lady, and I think it was cancer that she had. They convinced her not to go to the church because of faith healing sessions. Of course, she passed away. She then left all her money to the church, which was enough for them to buy a minibus to get them to then go and be able to pick up the kids directly from their parents' houses and these places and stuff like that. And the way they looked upon that was she died for the benefit of the church. So even though the faith healing didn't work, it's still evidence of God because she went on to help the church.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. Heads I win, tails you lose. Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
It's a win anytime, anyway.
And that particular man, that particular man that set up that church has on their website, Jim, I will send it to you. He had a church outside of town in a fucking barn on a rented area, and God came to him and spoke to him and told him to set up a bigger church and bring more people. I think I'm going to paraphrase, but the wife was like, "We need to pay rent. We can't be doing that." So God went and had a word with her as well. So yeah, that's why they moved forward with that.
We have exactly 15 minutes left. Final thoughts, anybody?
I mean, it's basically propaganda. Like, honestly, it's meant to elicit that fear response. And I remember there was a study that conservative brains, like people who identify as more conservative, they actually have a larger fear center in their brain, or it's like more active in their brain than more liberal people. So this type of thing plays directly into that. And, you know, by word of mouth, by the Chick Tracts, by, the preaching that is done to them, it all plays into these fears that you are persecuted. They are going to come for you. It's like after Sandy Hook happened, how many of these fucking right-wing nut jobs were like, Obama's going to come for the guns? And how many guns did Obama confiscate? 0. Did they repeal the Second Amendment? No. Did they do fuck all? No. But again, it's that fear. And, same thing with, you'll see in the media, they'll show graphs of, like the crime rate and everything, but they'll show that, oh, the crime rate has gone up since, say 2019. But they don't show the overall trend that violent crime has been trending down in the United States for decades. Sure, there was an uptick after, during the pandemic and after. Part of that is people, being locked in with their abusers because of the COVID lockdowns. Part of that is, financial insecurity, which can cause all kinds of things. Like the number one predictor of crime is poverty. And so if people have financial insecurity, they're more likely to turn to crime to try to scrape by. And at the beginning of the pandemic, when things were sold out, gun sales skyrocketed. What the fuck do you think is going to happen when a bunch of people who've never owned a gun before, but now they're worried, they're scared because they see scarcity on the shelves. They don't know what's happening with a global pandemic. So they buy guns, and
I
bad
have to
things
defend
happen.
my toilet paper. Must defend my toilet paper.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It preys on fear, and like they're told constantly that you are persecuted. Christians are persecuted. Doesn't matter that they are the majority in this country. Doesn't matter that Christian conservatives have a disproportionate amount of control in our government. I mean, not even counting, gerrymandering, which is a huge issue, but that happens on both sides. But just the sheer fact of our electoral system, where, the electoral system was a compromise with slave states. And it goes back to like the Three-Fifths Compromise, where a Black person was not even considered a full person. It's like technically the South had more people, but most of the people didn't count as actual people. So that's why it was weighted in their favor with the electoral college that we have in this country. It is incredibly outdated and antiquated, and it should be removed. And we should go to a more, direct democracy. I mean, we'll still have a representative democracy, but essentially getting rid of the electoral college would remove things like Trump getting elected even though he didn't win the popular vote, Bush getting elected even though he didn't win the popular vote, and I don't know, like there's a lot of issues in this country, and a lot of it stems from a lot of these evangelicals wanting to push their beliefs on everybody else. Like it's not enough that they have the freedom to have religion and their religion and practice it. Like they see the First Amendment not as the freedom of religion and freedom from religion with the separation of church and state, but as freedom of them to have their religion and then push it on everybody else because they want their own theocracy.
We've got 10 minutes left, guys. I'll start with Math Pig. Bottom of the show, if you could just tell us any upcoming events you got and where people can find your channel.
Yeah, mathpig.com's got all the links. You'll find all my stuff there. As I say, the only thing regular I have at the minute is Tuesdays. I am working on something just for fun to try and involve both Christians and atheists on both sides. If anyone remembers the game from the early 90s or the late 90s, early 2000s, Worms World Party and things like that, if anyone remembers it on the old consoles, we're trying to do a wee bit of work to get that going online so that people can again, just for a bit of shits and giggles, get in, we can have a bit of banter and we can have Christians v atheists and just do it for fun, and nothing serious, but trying to break barriers and just be friends on both sides. So technically behind the scenes, me and a couple of friends are working on that, trying to get a server going for that. But other than the regular show I have on a Tuesday with Richard, nothing really planned out other than that.
Awesome. Tilden.
Just for the last 2 years, we've been protesting in front of a church here in Dallas-Fort Worth. It was a church that has been preaching that the LGBTQ community, their members should be executed by the United States government. They got the protests were successful. They got evicted from their last 2 places that they had rented. But now they've gone to ground. We don't know where they've gone, but they still put their videos or their sermons on YouTube every week. What's really bad is that the children of the church, there is no Sunday school, so they get to sit in front of the preacher while he says the word faggot 20 times and things like that. So we really need to find them so we can try to, continue the protest. We need to get them really out of this state if we can. I am a member of the Metroplex Atheist. We go to protest in front of the church of, different churches. We've done that in Frisco. We've done it in the First Baptist in Dallas. Really enjoy that. I did want to say one thing about the program today. This Jack Chick. You brought up the idea of logical fallacies a couple of times, Jim. I don't think Jack Chick ever met a logical fallacy he couldn't ignore.
You're probably right. Also, guys, Tilden, he doesn't have a channel, but he is one of the hardest working atheists in the community. He helps out other content creators. He's a super fan. He donates his time and his money to other channels. The camera I'm using right now is directly a result of his donations. And not only the protest at the church he's talking about is NIFB, Steadfast Baptist Church. You guys probably know about it. It's one of the NIFB churches. All they do is spew hate out of their mouths, which hate speech is protected speech, but the way they use the hate speech and the word that I'm not going to say that Tilden used, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And that borders on incitement to violence, in my opinion. They need to be stopped. And I'm not for squashing free speech, free legal speech, but when it gets to that kind of rhetoric, it becomes inflammatory at best and incendiary at worst. In addition to that, if you guys remember, before the pandemic in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there was a banner campaign in No God We Trust. It was on all the street posts in Fort Worth. It made international news. Well, they're doing it again, and it's going to be just as big. It's going to cause a big stir. This one is keep your God out of our public schools. And it's going to, there's going to be a press conference. Who do they got? Who's the headliner speaking at that press conference? It's going to be Andrew Seidel. I'm sure, I know for a fact Aaron Ra is going to be there. So yeah, a lot of big names, and it's going to get some. So Tilden is on the board of directors of the organization that's putting together that banner campaign as well.
No, I'm not on the board of the directors. I'm just a member.
Oh, you're not on the board. Okay.
No, used to be.
Kitty. Oh, okay. While while you are, oh, you're frozen.
Sorry, I was
There you go.
no, I was responding to something in the chat. So like I said, tentatively, I have a thing with Godless Granny on her channel. I believe on the 18th. Like I said, pencil that in. We'll announce more like the closer it gets, but we will be talking about Roe v. Wade and the consequences of if the draft goes through, and if Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey are overturned. So that would be around the 18th. If that changes, I will update that on Twitter. But that's the next thing that I actually have like planned that I'll be doing. Other than that, I might just pop on for like Purple streams because she's great, and Beck, he's awesome too. Like definitely go sub to their channels, and Student Dr. Ben and Almost a Doctor Matt. Like they're all great people, and I adore them. And I'll pop on their stuff every now and again.
Awesome. This went really well. Thank you guys so much. I guess Aaron still is in tutoring. I thought there was a chance he might not make it. His class got out, and he's in some really tough subjects right now, so he probably got some after school tutoring today. No big deal. It was still a great show. Monday is my next live show, and that's an open mic with The Bible Says What, and anyone else who wants to join. The link to it will be in the description section of the video. Anyone can come in. I'm not scared. If you want to try to troll me, if you're a believer, you're totally welcome. Anyone's welcome. Just come and have a chat with us on Monday, and that will do it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.